Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, we're going to be going over the 10 hardest schedules in college football for the 2023 season. And we're going to get right into it, guys, starting with number 10. It is the Ohio State Buckeyes. After finishing 11-2 last season, Ohio State had the 21st rated strength of schedule last year. And this year, they actually have the 8th hardest average opponent ranking. The 3 toughest opponents they have to play is at Notre Dame in the 4th week of the season. They get Penn State at home, but they have to on the last game of the season they play at Michigan in Ann Arbor. The other tough game they have to play is at Wisconsin, Camp Randall. Number 9 is the Missouri Tigers. Now, last year they had a pretty decent strength of schedule. It was ranked 20th. This year it's ranked number 9. The 3 toughest opponents they have to play, they get LSU at home, they get Tennessee at home, but they still have to travel to Sanford Stadium in Athens to play the 2-time defending national champ Georgia Bulldogs. Their non-conference consists of South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, Memphis, a neutral site, and they get Kansas State, the reigning Big 12 champion, at home as well. Number 8 is Texas A&M, one of the underperforming teams last year. Texas A&M actually had the 36th ranked strength of schedule last year. This year they're number 8, 22nd in average opponent ranking. The 3 toughest opponent games they have to play on the road at LSU, on the road at Tennessee, and they get Alabama at home this year. As you guys remember, last year they almost nearly pulled off the stunning upset at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. But this year they get them at home. Let's see if they can pull it off. Non-conference consists of New Mexico, Louisiana Monroe, Abilene Christian in the FCS, and they play at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida. Moving on to number 7 is the Iowa State Cyclones. Last year they had a very underperforming season, but their schedule showed why they didn't do as well. It's finished 4-8. They finished with a 16th overall strength of schedule. Really difficult. And this year they're number 7 in the preseason SOS ranking. Their average opponent ranking is 6, meaning that the raw talent of each team they played is the 6th hardest of all the 133 FBS schools. The 3 toughest opponents they had to play at Oklahoma, at Kansas State, in Texas they get at home. The non-conference includes Ohio, Iowa Hawkeyes, and the Northern Iowa in the FCS. They also have to play the defending national runner-up TCU at home, and the newcomer Cincinnati, and they travel to BYU, another newcomer in the Big 12 this year. Moving on to number 6 is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Yes. They even in previous years they've been pretty ridiculed for their strength of schedule. But this year, preseason number 6. Last year they finished 18th overall, and their average opponent ranking is 13th. The 3 toughest opponents they have to play, they actually get a break with some of these opponents because 3 of their toughest opponents are all at home: LSU, Texas, and Tennessee. Alabama actually gets at home. Their toughest opponents they have to play on the road are Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and at Kentucky. They travel to Jordan-Hare for at Auburn in the season finale, and obviously Texas is their major non-conference, one of the most prestigious non-conference matches we will see in the 2023 season. Moving into the top 5, number 5 is the South Carolina Gamecocks. They always have the privilege, I wouldn't say the privilege, but they always seem to be up here in the top 10 of the preseason rankings simply because they're in the East and they have to play Georgia, and they usually cross over with Alabama. But not even playing Alabama in the cross-divisional matchup, South Carolina is number 5 going into the preseason this year. Last year they finished 41st, and their average opponent ranking is 43rd, meaning that their opponents have a high winning percentage projected for this year. The 3 toughest opponents, they get Clemson at home, they have to travel on the road to Tennessee, and like a lot of these SEC schools, they have to play on the road at Georgia. Non-conference again consists of Clemson, Furman, Jacksonville State, and they have a neutral site game week 1 at Bank of America against the UNC Tar Heels. So we'll see how South Carolina fares with this schedule ahead of them. Number 4 is the California Golden Bears. Last year they had a pretty decent strength of schedule. It was 28th, actually not too good, but this year their preseason projected to be 4th. Their average opponent ranking is 3rd, and the loaded Pac-12. They had a very bad draws with the opponents they got, since they can't play all 11 other opponents. Their non-conference games consist of USC, at Utah, at Oregon, at UCLA, Oregon State, and at Washington. So that is a very, very tough 5-game schedule, whether it's in conference or not, for any team in the country. The non-conference consists of Idaho, at North Texas, and they get Auburn as their main Power 5 non-conference matchup this season. Number 3, moving into the top 3 guys, we have the highest rated Big Ten squad at the strength of schedule, Michigan State. Last year they finished 4th overall in the strength of schedule, and their average opponent ranking this year, yes, on average they play the toughest power rated opponents, pound for pound, in the FBS in 2023. I mean, they're when they play in the Big Ten East, look at these top three matchups. Penn State at home, they get Michigan home, and they have to travel to Ohio State. Also in there, they get Washington at home. They have to travel on the road at Kinnick, at Iowa, and they also have to travel on the road at Minnesota. So this is a very, very daunting schedule, especially when it starts getting in the cold months. For the Big Ten and the Midwest, this is going to be one of the hardest schedules in the country. That Michigan State is number 3. Number 2, one of the more surprising teams coming out of last year, one of the highest rated teams coming into this year with the most hype, LSU Tigers. They have the 2nd rated schedule. Last year they finished 12th. The average opponent ranking is 12th going into this year. Their 3 toughest opponents: at Alabama, they play Florida State at a neutral site yet again, and they travel on the road at Mississippi State. Other games include at Missouri, at Ole Miss, and Arkansas, and they get Texas A&M at home. So LSU, the 2nd hardest strength of schedule heading into the 2023 season. So who has the hardest strength of schedule going into 2023? Well, if you guessed the SEC West opponent, you're right. It is the Ole Miss Rebels. If you look at the schedule, it is absolutely insane. Last year they finished 24th overall. This year's average opponent ranking is 18th, but just go down the schedule. I mean, the non-conference is Mercer, Georgia Tech, and Louisiana Monroe. Their main non-conference matchup, not a Power 5, but Tulane finished 12-2 last year. They got and won a New Year's 6 bowl matchup. They go on the road at Tulane, and then from there it just gets absolutely insane. At Alabama, LSU at home. Arkansas is no easy foe. Got to travel on the road at Jordan-Hare. They get Texas A&M. They have got to play at Georgia, and they play at Mississippi State. This is a absolutely incredibly hard strength schedule overall. I think Ole Miss, at their absolute peak, they can only get to 9 wins. There's no way they're going to get past all of 2 of the 3 of Alabama, LSU, and Georgia, 2 of those being on the road. There's no way Ole Miss gets above 9-3 this season in the regular season. I don't see it happening, guys. So that is the list of the top 10 strongest strength of schedules. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for all future sports lists and related elements in this channel.